Hmm. Good morning, everyone. Okay, fine. So, any doubts you have, or you want? If any doubts, then tell me. Uh, Question answer. अच्छा, यहीं से चेक करना है. Okay. Sir, BOP crisis mean current account deficit. Krishna. No, Krishna. See, external sector we will do in the class, but then you can get the complete idea about this. BOP is the balance of payment. It means it records all economic transactions between the home country and the rest of the world. Within BOP is divided into two major accounts. One is known as current account and other is known as capital account. So current account, it is in deficit, and also maybe your capital account, it is in surplus, maybe to some extent surplus. But overall, if you add current account and capital account, in overall your country or any country's current countries is facing the deficit, then we can say overall BOP deficit. So maybe like in India, if you see, the BOP has been in the positive from last few years. Okay, why the BOP is positive but current account is a deficit? But due to more inflow of FDI, okay, so it was positive, means surplus, and the capital account surplus was enough to meet the current account deficit. So BOP overall it was in surplus. Okay, so there is a possibility, but when you are saying BOP deficit, it does not mean the only current account deficit, because current account deficit is there, but maybe overall BOP may be in surplus. This possibility is there. But when you are saying BOP is in deficit, so maybe only due to the current account or maybe the current account, capital account, both. So overall inflow of foreign currency is less, and overall outflow of foreign currency from both the accounts is, I mean, if you overall you take, is more. So when outflow is more than the inflow of foreign currency, you are in deficit. So that is known as the BOP deficits. Clear here? Sir, what is budgetary assistance, Partha? See, budgetary assistance means the amount allotted in the budget. So you are knowing that if you go and see the budget, what I discussed with you, mainly the amount what you are going to spend in the economy, the amount you are getting from Consolidated Fund of India. And you are knowing that any amount you are going to spend from Consolidated Fund of India, okay, you have to take permission from the parliament. So budgetary year or budgetary session is the, during that sessions, government presenting the budget, okay, first day of the first Feb. Then in budgetary session everything is discussed, and after, when you are able to convince your parliament, when you are able to convince parliament, then parliament is approving it. So parliament's approval means that much amount of money you can withdraw from the Consolidated Fund of India. And also you got permissions in the name of Government of India, how much money you are going to receive, it is going to the Consolidated Fund of India. It is there that this will go to the Consolidated Fund of India. So you have to take the permission from that. So when you are allotting some fund to any sector or to any department or for any activities, that is known as a budgetary support, means that much amount you allotted in the budget. Okay, next one question I'm receiving. Sir, yesterday at the end of second class, okay, means second half, you said something about partially convertibility in current account or something. Could you please tell us about that? Dear C, one request to all of you, uh, because I have to discuss, or I'm going to discuss your BOP, balance of payment. Okay. Uh, so that time you will get all clarity, because when I am discussing a particular topic, I'm trying to discuss in a complete format so you can get each and everything. But since you maybe I just discussed with you, so some things you got it and you are not in clarity. When you are saying about the convertibility, okay, I think I once you used you just noted this word. Okay, convertibility, we are using this concept in economics, particularly in external sector. It means if anyone that is a simple you understand. If foreign currency you can convert into domestic currency, and domestic currency you can convert into foreign currency in the market exchange system. In a market exchange system where exchange rate is decided by the market forces, and competent authority is not going to intervene in determination of exchange rate. So basically convertibility means market exchange system, whether it's implemented or not. So that is the reason I was saying that if you take the BOP, so in current account, that is we already implemented the market exchange system, that is a market exchange system, and capital account only partially, like API is allowed, not the other transactions. So that was I was saying yesterday in second half. But I will discuss you detail in external sector. Sir, is BOP deficit and BOP crisis same or different? Biswajit? Nothing. BOP crisis is the worst part of BOP deficit. You understand that? I given you one example. Suppose I am here. I'm in deficit. Maybe my expenditure today, my expenditure is more than the receipt. Fine. I'm in deficit. But I have enough reserve. I have enough reserve. Okay, once enough reserve is there means we can easily meet our deficit, we can pay it. So here I'm in deficit but not in a crisis. But if you are in deficit and also you don't have in reserve, so we can say you are in crisis. This is the difference. So BOP crisis means you are in deficit, but to meet this deficit, you don't have that much amount of foreign currency in your reserve. Like in the BOP crisis, what India faced in 1991, we had reserve, but that was only, even it was not enough to pay 2 weeks of import bills. That situation we faced. Okay, right now it's a enough amount of forex reserve we have. So even your current account is in deficit, but we are not taking it. I mean, it's a concern for the economy, but it's not in the worst part because we have enough reserve. Clear? Okay, Biswajit, and what is the difference between FDI and API? Again, this FDI and API allow me to discuss you in the external sector, because once allow me to just discuss first topic, I think this type very small questions you are not going to ask because everything will be clear, but this will I can only clear in the external sector. So topics related to external sectors allow me to discuss in that sector. Meanwhile, you completed. Yes, since these all are integrated, so we cannot 100% we cannot ignore it. So we need some information and some basic one that I'm providing you so that you can understand this topic and you are able to relate. In detail, we will discuss in the concerned topics. Clear, dear? Now, just write fiscal reforms now. Fiscal reforms, give the heading, please give. Okay, fiscal reforms or fiscal reforms or fiscal measures you can say. Fiscal reforms, your fiscal measures. We have taken, okay, in this economic reforms, and within that heading you first write tax reforms. One you can write tax reform. tax reforms. Okay, right. Tax reforms, first you should know Professor Raja J. Chilaiya. You remember this name of this person, Professor Raja J. Chilaiya. So after 1991 BOP crisis, see, it's very simple logic things. Ki suppose I am government. Don't take in that way. Just for understanding, I'm telling. Suppose I'm leading the government and I want to reform a particular sector. Okay, so our colleagues, since they are not expert in that particular field, they can't suggest the recommendations. Okay, you have to do this and that. So generally, what the government is doing that, okay, they are appointing a committee under the expert. They are really expert in a particular field. Okay, and that since they invested a major time of their life, they are knowing each and everything about that particular sector, they can better suggest what are the issues prevailing in this sector and what are the measures should be implemented to correct it. Okay, so government constituted a tax reforms committee. What is the committee? Reform Tax Reform Committee. Tax Reform Committee, they constituted. Short form, you can say TRC. They constituted the TRC, Tax Reform Committee, under the chairmanship of Professor Raja J. Chilaiya. Okay. So, and why Professor Raja J. Chilaiya recommendation is very important, very important. Okay, because his suggestions and recommendation changed the structure of taxation system in India after 1991. Okay, like Raja Chilaiya's recommendations cut down the tax rate. There was the high progressiveness. Okay, before your economic reforms, high progressiveness means okay, that person whose income is very higher, they have to pay the really very high rate of interest. Sorry, high tax rate. So somewhere they are giving some disincentive to the taxpayers to avoid the tax payment. Okay, so that was the thing. So they suggested cut down in the tax rate, excise duty, personal taxes system. And one more thing, they recommended that they recommended for introduction of VAT, value added tax, and which cut down the cascading effect, the tax on tax. So value added tax implemented after the recommendation of this committee. Other major recommendation this committee made, bringing the service taxes under the tax net. If you go to the very starting point before economic reforms, okay, and take the original taxation system or taxation provisions in India, so there was no provision to tax the services. There was no provision. Taxation provision only was for the goods, not for the services, dear. Okay, so goods were allowed, only allowed for taxing system. So government was only making rules and regulation related to the goods, not for services, because services was not under the tax net. First time the Professor Raja Chilaiya recommended that increase the tax base, okay, and increase the tax collections. And increasing tax base, they recommended to bring service sector under the tax net. And after 1991, when government keeps bringing more and more services, after 1991, okay, 93, 94, they started bringing services sector in the under the tax net, and slowly now you can see okay, now goods and services, these both are in the parity of the taxation system, under the taxation system. And that's the reason the government has implemented GST, goods and services taxes. So they give in a parity between the goods and services. So economic reforms started, result you can see that clear. So just write all of you. There was a high degree of there was a high degree of progressiveness in the Indian tax structure in the Indian tax structure Indian tax structure, and tax collection efficiency was very low. And efficiency, tax efficiency, tax collection efficiency was very low. Okay, right. The government, the government of India, the government of India appointed a tax reform committee, under under the chairmanship of Professor Raja Chilaiya. Professor Raja Chilaiya. Okay. In 1991, to examine the existing tax structure, in the country, okay, and make suggestions, appropriate suggestions, okay, full stop, right? This TRC means Tax Reform Committee. This TRC came up with three reports in 1991, 1992 and 1993 clear, with the following measures. Okay, first you write reforming the personal taxation system, by reducing tax rates, Next point you write reduction in the corporate tax rates, Next, reduction in the customs duties, Okay. Next point you write simplifying the excise duty, and its integration with the value added tax system, value added tax system. Value added tax systems basically solve the problem of cascading effect. Cascading effect, we say, if you are paying the tax on the tax, so that is known as a cascading effect. So that is basically this issue solved after introduction of value added tax. Means on every stage of value additions that you are going to pay tax, not on the overall value. This is the things. Okay. Now next you write increasing the tax base, tax base means you are taxing the number of things, tax base, increasing the tax base and bringing the service sector under the tax net, Clear? Now next you write next things. So first time it's introduced taxing the services after the recommendation of this committee, right? Developing a tax information system, developing a tax reform system, developing a tax information system, not reform, developing tax information system and computerization of the system and computerization of the system and computerization of the system. Okay, next one you write improving the quality of tax administration. Improving the quality of tax administration. Improving the quality of tax administration. Clear? See, when you're talking about improving the quality of tax administration, one thing you should know in the last budget, not the budget which was presented on 1st Feb 2023. I'm talking about the budget that was presented on 1st Feb 2022. In that budget, the government of India has taken, when I mean in budget, they have taken a decision, and decision was now the taxpayers, it is related to administrations. So now the taxpayers, okay, now the taxpayers getting the options and getting the opportunity to inform tax officials their income in next 2 years, means they can file, they can just file the tax returns of all the incomes. Or suppose I am the taxpayer, so I am paid taxes for this particular year, fine. So suppose I am missing some informations, I am not recalling myself the source of income and I missed it. So earlier condition was, before this last 1st April, I mean the budget 2023, the earlier condition was, suppose you earn in a particular year, so suppose till 31st March your income is there, you paid some taxes, fine. After that, government gives the 2-3 months more, like after March, April, May, June probably, or July, sometimes government extending till the December. So you have options to file return. You have not options, you have to file returns if you're paying the taxes. So you have to file returns, and in return, if other income you generated, suppose, and then you have to inform to the tax officials, and on all the incomes you have to pay the taxes. Clear? If suppose the last date of return filing is over and you earn some income, the tax official has the information but you're not informed to the tax officials, then after that time period, the tax official started sending the notices to the different taxpayers and started taking the legal action against them. But the government is given the argument in the parliament, okay, and now it's implemented that they given the argument, taxpayers, why we are assuming taxpayer is the culprit or taxpayer is intentionally they are not paid this amount. If a taxpayer is paid the taxes to you, so there is a possibility due to maybe something, suppose they not remember that time, or suppose they mix up some things, something happened, they missed to inform you some of the tax amount, they earned it, but since person they are earning from different sources, so maybe some 1-2 sources they missed it to inform you. It does not mean they are just intentionally they are doing that. Why not tax official, they assume that they just forget to inform us. So these or tax return, they should tax return or taxpayers will get 2 more years for file the return. So suppose you earn in this particular year, so 2 years it's given to you. You can inform tax officials and file return on that. Okay, the tax officials will not take any legal action against you. This is the things is presented in the budget in the 2022-23 budget. So yes, it's improving the attitude towards the taxpayers. The government is changing it. Okay, and other reforms, other recent one that it will be discussed in the budget class. So this is fine. It is fine. So you can add it also. Okay, recently the government has taken. Okay, so because my objective is to start from the initial one, and then you have to connect till the today's one. Clear, dear? Now next point you write. Next point you can write. First point was tax reforms in India, or within that you can write in one more point. Right, dear? In 2002, because it is also related to the tax one, in 2002, A task force, a task force, a task force constituted, a task force constituted under the chairmanship of, under the chairmanship of Vijay L. Kelkar, Vijay L. Kelkar, okay. Sri Vijay L. Kelkar, under the chairmanship of Sri Vijay L. Kelkar, okay, Kelkar on direct and indirect taxes, on direct and indirect taxes, on direct and indirect taxes, okay, on direct and indirect taxes, right. Task force made several recommendations, task force made several recommendations for simplifications, for simplifications and rationalizations of direct and indirect taxes, simplifications and rationalization of direct and indirect taxes. Clear? Okay, so normal things is there. So very micro level, don't go. Just you understand that the Vijay L. Kelkar committee was constituted for tax reforms in India, and this committee was constituted to suggest measures on direct and indirect taxes. Clear? They recommended rationalizations and cut down the tax rate so that the taxpayers will get incentive to pay taxes to the government. Clear here? Now, see, when you're talking about here, fine, this point. And the next you can write the GST. Yeah, you can write the GST because it's related to tax reform. So next you write the GST, implementation of GST, goods and services taxes. So GST I will do meanwhile, let me complete economy reforms, this part. GST I will do in the class, okay, later on. But you write here GST, yeah, goods and services. Latest one is the GST. So you have to connect that, yeah, it's started, reform started. Now latest reform in the tax structure is the GST, fine. Now next point you write, actually one more thing you write here, one more thing you write, that is a Laffer curve. When you are discussing about the tax rate, so you must write Laffer curve. Okay, you remember because it is asked in the PT paper, Laffer curve. So it's a tax collection. Here you can measure, you are measuring the tax rate, tax rate. So you take like this, curve like this. Okay. So this curve is known as a Laffer curve. Okay. Laffer curve. So what is Laffer curve? Okay. So Laffer curve, what it implies, let us consider the vertical horizontal axis, we measured the tax rate. We are measuring the tax rate, and along vertical axis, we measure the tax collections. So along vertical axis, tax collections, along horizontal axis, tax rate. It is clear? Now, Laffer curve says that, Laffer is the name of economists, they explain that if you are increasing the tax rate, you keeps increasing the tax rate initially from the very 0 1 you keeps increasing the tax rate. So once you keeps increasing the tax rates, your tax collection keeps increasing, tax collection keep increasing because on the vertical axis you are measuring the tax collection will increase. But when you are reaching at maximum tax rate, say T star, so at this rate, the tax collection is the highest one, like this. Tax collection is highest. But when we suppose if you are thinking that higher tax may result higher tax collections, and you are increasing the tax rate further, then tax collection is not going to increase, but tax collection is going to decrease. Okay, decrease. So basically, if you take you go just going for the T1 amount of tax, then tax collections, basically tax collection of the government is going to decrease. That's going to decrease from this one to this one. So it is a very initial point. So just leave this point. You start from here till onwards. So you are getting the negative relationship between the tax rate and tax collections, because it is a very starting point. So very starting, if you're just increasing from 2, 3 rupee like this. So yes, but you have to reaching at the maximum tax rates. Okay, tax rate. So it's fine. The tax collection is there. But if you keeps increasing more, then tax rate is started decreasing. So higher the tax rate, you take reference from here. Higher the tax rate, lower the tax collections. Lower the tax rate, higher will be the tax collection. So basically, this portion of the Laffer curve is downward sloping. So that we are using generally to explain the Laffer curve. So Laffer curve, generally if you take this part, then it says that the tax collection and tax rates are inversely related. If you are maintaining the or you're charging the higher tax rates, then tax collection will be lower. And if you are maintaining the lower tax rates, then only tax collection will be higher. So please remember, because sometimes they are already asked and it keeps asking in UPSC PT paper. Yeah. Some question you send me, sir, can you please speak a little bit slower while writing? Okay, I will maintain. But okay, fine. Yeah, Subhasri, you are also right. But I just discussed the recent one. But before this, the government has also implemented the faceless tax system. Faceless tax system means earlier, yeah, it is already implemented. Faceless tax system, it means कि suppose earlier it was the each and every state divided in a particular zone. One state is divided in the particular zone, and every zone the in charge was the commissioner, income tax commissioner, okay, or indirect tax commissioner was there. So they looking this. They are just controlling the tax collections, the individuals, everything in that particular area. So there was direct connectivity, direct connections with the tax officials and the taxpayers. That resulting the corruptions and misutilization of the information and tax, so many things are there. So government has implemented the faceless tax system. It means that now no one is knowing whose file I am processing. Suppose I am a tax official and I am processing the tax file, then I don't know whose file is this. Okay, even the person whose file is this person is unknown where my file is processed in the Bengal. Suppose you are in Bengal, so in Bengal it is, or it may be Bangalore, maybe Chennai, maybe Hyderabad, anywhere in this. So that system is known as a faceless, the tax system. What is the implication is there? You are able to, just eliminate the direct contact between taxpayers and the bank, the tax officials. So tax officials will only assess your tax return or everything on the basis of existing rules and regulations. So basically you are bringing the efficiency, transparency in the taxing system. Efficiency means if that much of tax you need it, so you can get it. If that much tax is calculated, you will get it. Because manipulation is not going there, because you don't know whose file is this, another person to whom they can approach. Okay, so it is the implication. Okay, Subhasri? Fine. No, after this you come next is the next point you write, the implementation of FRBM Act 2003. Yes, dear, you can write. It's a fiscal measures, no? Fiscal reform. So yes, you implemented FRBM Act 2003 in 2004. And what is FRBM Act? This all part we have discussed with you. So better you're knowing, so you can explain yourself. Yes, implementation of FRBM Act. Clear? Fine. Now, these are the measures, steps taken in the fiscal reforms or fiscal measures. Clear? Now, next we are coming financial sector reforms. Financial sector reforms. Financial sector reforms. Okay. Now, financial sector reform is very milestone change. Whenever you are going for financial sector reform, the name of M. Narasimham, name will come. M. Narasimham name will come. Okay. So, for financial sector reforms, a committee was constituted. For financial sector reforms, a committee was constituted under the chairmanship of M. Narasimham. Okay. And M. Narasimham committee recommended, and really their recommendations implemented by the government, and today you can see that more efficiently the system is working. So a starting point from there. Okay, starting point from there. What are the major recommendations that government adopted? Like the cut down in SLR and CRR. When you are talking about financial sectors, it's the whole sectors you're talking about. So financial sector reforms, that for financial sector reforms in 1991, we constituted a committee under M. Narasimham, which is known as the Narasimham Committee 1, which is known as Narasimham Committee 1. Okay. And again in 1998, under the same persons, we constituted a committee, it is known as Banking Sector Reforms. Banking sector reforms. Banking sector reforms. Under the same person, M. Narasimham. Name M. Narasimham. And it is known as Narasimham Committee 2. Okay. So person is same, different committees. One is for the financial sector reforms in 1991, and second one is known as banking sector reforms, okay, which is known as Narasimham Committee 2. Okay, remember this thing, because sometimes they are asking in the PT paper, they can give you the Narasimham Committee 1 and 2, they can ask you, okay, which one is for financial sector, which one is the banking sector, and other committees name and their main areas they will give you, and they can ask you, okay, just match the right answer and just choose the answer. Okay, so you have to know some of the things what they are asking. So just you write the government of India constituted a committee on the financial sector reforms under the chairmanship of M. Narasimham in 1991. Okay, on the basis of this committee, recommendations, on the basis of this committee recommendations, that's right, on the basis of this committee recommendations, the followings measures undertaken. The following measures undertaken. The following measures undertaken. First you write, the RBI had announced, first you write a decrease in CRR and SLR, because you start from this point. Decrease in CRR and SLR. Decrease in CRR and SLR. Okay. Second you write, the RBI had announced guidelines the RBI had announced guidelines for setting up banks. The RBI had announced guidelines for setting up banks in the private sector. In the private sector. Okay. Just you think there, it is the starting point. M. Narasimhan Committee recommended the privatization of banks. Okay. So that is a part of your economic reforms, privatization of banks, and the committee recommended that. Okay, right. The RBI had announced guidelines for setting up banks in the private sector. In the private sector. Now, next point you write, third, interest rates in the banking system. Interest rates in the banking system have been liberalized. Have been liberalized. Have been liberalized. Have been liberalized. Now, how can you relate with this? Have been liberalized. Just you think only one. I discussed you the monetary system, dear, remember? So we discussed in the class that till your economic reforms, even the lending rate was controlled by the RBI. But when you started implementing the economic reforms, and we started shifting from socialist pattern of development to the capitalist pattern of development in the economy, we started giving the autonomy, or we started giving this responsibility to the concerned banks. You decide the lending rate of interest on the basis of market forces. You remember that day in the class that we shifted from base rate BPLR system, then base rate system, then MCLR, okay, and then from MCLR to external benchmark based lending rate system. So we already completed. So you can take from the example, yes, we started from this, okay, and we reached to the today's the October 2019, the last, where the RBI implemented the external benchmark based lending system. So you start from this point, economic reforms, and then you start connecting step by step till today. So always you have to complete the sectoral informations in economy, Indian economy, all the information. Clear? So that is the reason you are writing that have been liberalized. Clear? Now next point you write, a new board for financial supervision, a new board for financial supervision, a new board for financial supervision was constituted under the chairmanship of a deputy governor of the RBI, under the chairmanship of the deputy governor of the RBI. Okay, yeah, financial supervision board you need it, so which can supervise the market outcome, okay, the functioning of the market. So they recommended it. And last you write, an act was passed in 1993. An act was passed in 1993 under which special recovery tribunals have been set up, under which special recovery tribunals have been set up to facilitate faster recovery of loan arrears, faster recovery of loan arrears or dues. Okay, you can say also dues, faster recovery of loan arrears. Arrears you can write like this, arrears. Arrears. Clear? Now give the heading of banking sector reform. Second, you give the heading banking sector reforms. And please write in the bracket 1998. Finance sector, after that you write banking sector reforms. Write in bracket 1998, right? The government of India, right? The government of India appointed the committee on banking sector reform. on the banking sector reforms, on the banking sector reforms under the chairmanship of M. Narasimham, under the chairmanship of M. Narasimham. Okay, right. The committee submitted its report. Okay, in 1998. And its major recommendations were as follows. First you write strong banks. First point, strong banks should be merged. That's the recommendations. Weak and unviable. So recommendation was weak and unviable banks. So two category they are saying. One is the strong bank, they are saying. Strong banks. So there are so many banks, so they recommended that yes, if strong banks can be merged and make the few number of banks. Okay. And second also recommended, if banks is weak banks, okay, and they are not viable, they are unviable one, they cannot sustain. So these banks you should closed. Okay, so that was the recommendations. Okay, but today you can see what the government is doing presently. That's against of this committee recommendations. But it was a recommendation 998. But today maybe scenario is something. Today's scenario is something different. So if you are merging with the strong and the poor, the poor or means weak banks, then it is going to affect the credit and the other assessment of the assets of the strong banks. Okay, so that was the reason. So first point you write. Strong banks should be merged and relatively weak and unviable ones or weak and unviable banks, you can write, banks should be closed. Weak and unviable banks should be closed. Clear? Now second point you write, and what is the second point? So it may possible in the future government is going to implement this this point or this object this point, these recommendations. So M. Narasimham committee that time in 1998 also recommended that in place of large number of national banks, you do one thing, you create the banking system in three tiers. First tier bank they're talking about will be 2 to 3 banks, and these banks will have the international presence or international international, they are working in they will work in domestic economy as well in the international market. So their presence must be in the international market. That is one of the things, that is the first tier bank. Okay, and that number of banks will be 2 to 3. Okay, so 2 to 3, that's international oriented banks. The orientation will be the international one. And 8 to 10 banks will be your national level banks. 8 to 10 banks will be national level banks. That is the second tier banks. And third tiers bank, they are talking about the local banks. Okay, so recommendation was that the first tier and second tier banks will work as the per the requirement of the corporate sector, industries, corporate sector, like this. They will work for them. But local banks will confine to a local area, and they will work for the interest of the local persons. So basically, if you think about, we are talking about inclusive growth achievement, because when each and everyone is getting the financial inclusion and also the financial benefits, banking facilities, credit facilities, then the possibility of growth and development will be much higher, and this person will also grow and develop, and then we are able to achieve the inclusive growth, because the local persons will need their interest will be protected and their demand will be met by the local banks, and the national level banks and international level banks or international orientation banks will cater the need of the corporate sector. Then both we are just solving the issue. So that was the point, that was the recommendations made by the M. Nasimam committee. Okay, so just to write, maybe the merger of the banks may lead to like this, give only few banks you are going to allow to operate in the country, okay, in place of different number of banking system. It's not system is one, different number of banks. Right here, second point you write, the country should have 2 or 3 banks. The country should have 2 or 3 banks with international orientation, comma, 8 to 10 national banks, 8 to 10 national banks, and a large number of local banks, and a large number of local banks, a large number of local banks, right. The third tier banks, means local banks you're talking about, the third tier banks should remain confined to a smaller geographical area, confined to a smaller geographical area, okay, smaller geographical area, full stop, right. The first and second tier banks the first and second tier banks should take care the needs of the corporate sector, needs of the corporate sector, needs of the corporate sector. Clear? Now, शेयर नहीं काम कर रहा. Okay, second point you write. The committee recommended, budgetary supports for recapitalizations is not viable. Budgetary support for recapitalization is not viable. So that time, but just if you see the government is doing just opposite of that. So today government is giving budgetary assistance. You heard about the recapitalization of banks. Okay. So what you have written that the committee recommended budgetary support for recapitalization is not viable. But today government is doing that. Okay. Because some argument they are giving that if you go like this, you are recapitalizing the banking system. So banks will not take care of their own and they will keeps practicing this same way. So they can land it to the very risky affairs, and a significant amount is going to be your non-performing NPA, non-performing assets, and they are facing the liquidity problem. So to what extent government is going to assist this bank, and they're giving the money for the capitalizing the banks, which is known as the recapitalization of the bank. Today what the government is doing, one proportions is giving from the budgetary supports, and second they are saying the bank you can generate their own the fund from the market. But budgetary support, that as per the committee, was they recommended it's not good. Okay. Next you write, legal framework is not adequate. Next point, legal framework is not adequate for credit recovery. Legal framework is not adequate for credit recovery. Full stop. It should be strengthened. System is not efficient, but you have to make more stronger system so that you can recover the your credits. That is okay, the amount you given, that is you can recover your NPA. Next you write, next point, net NPA for all banks should be minimum. should be minimum. Okay, next point you write. There should be rationalization of banks and staff. That was the recommendation, because that time, before his recommendation, the banks were working on the socialist pattern. Okay, so but when you are going for the capitalist pattern of development, then you started thinking about the profit maximizations, the cost cutting. Okay, so they recommended that you have to rationalize the staff, and also you have to rationalize the branches. Okay, because there was a lead bank scheme that was implemented earlier. Lead bank scheme concept was in every area, each and every bank should open their own branch. It was mandatory for each and every banks. But lead bank schemes created other problems, and the problem was in a very small area, more than one banks are operational, but not a single bank is getting enough customers to viably run that particular branch, and they started incurring loss. So then committee recommended that ki rationalize the branch. So concept is what ki if in a particular area one two banks branch already opened, so other banks should avoid to open the branch in that area, because already we linked with the banking system in that area. And staffs, that is overburden of the staffs in banking system was one of the reason of higher cost. Okay, so committee recommended you rationalize that. They are not saying the cut down the labor, or they are just saying they're rationalizing the labor. So what is your requirement? Accordingly, you have to hire it. Next one you write, bring more banks under private sector. Bring more banks. They recommended second time. The first time they recommended, second time also recommended. Bring more banks under the private sector. Bring more banks under the private sector. Under the private sector. Clear? Next you write, foreign banks may be allowed to set up foreign banks may be allowed to set up subsidiaries or joint ventures in India. Foreign banks may be allowed to set up subsidiaries or joint ventures in India. Okay, dear. So these all points, that is a measure, and now you have to add all the new recent developments, and then from there major steps you can connect with each and every sector till now. Okay, so this part is over. So if you want to ask economic reforms, so anything you are not getting, just let me. Okay. Any doubt, any questions? And no, then one part of external sector I will discuss. And why I want to discuss external sector only one part? Uh, because today if you read the newspaper, so very frequently this concept is coming, and we need to know, because then we can use it, the impact, because we have completed your monetary system and fiscal system. So some information will do, then I'm going to start your complete first agriculture and industrial sector. Okay, then I will complete your complete external sector. Clear? Or if you want the external sector, I can continue. Or let me just start the external sector. No issue. Now, I'm starting your external sector. So what you have to do? You have to know you are knowing now the reasons, the major steps taken in economic reforms, and all the today's development you have to connect, so that you are able to connect everything starting from this 991 till today. And economic reform is still continuing in the economy. It's not over. Still it is a continuing. So external sector, first we are going to discuss about the foreign exchange rate. foreign exchange rate. Yes, dear. So now we are going to discuss about your exchange rate system. Any questions? Yeah, one question you're writing, sir, if we do stratification of banks, then will it not lead to monopoly of some banks in certain sectors? Also, third tier banks may incur loss. Partha, देखो, see, if anything, any reforms or any policy you are implementing there, okay, always there is a possibility of the positive things and there is some possibility of the adverse impacts. Okay, so when you are just taking care, when you are formulating these three tiers of banking system, then you have to also regulate that, because international orientations 2 to 3 banks, and national level it's 8 to 10 banks. 8 to 10 banks is enough. That's It's very difficult to create the monopoly if there is 8 to 10 banks is existing. Large number of banks concept is that in a single area the one bank will be operational and they will only meet the and fulfill the need of the local people. Okay, because today what is happening, the most of the money which is with the banking systems are the normal public money. That's a money of the households. But when you go and take the loan, the households they want to take loan, then it's very difficult to take loan for them, because the criteria and other things they are putting it. It's very difficult to get loan for these peoples. Okay, but suppose it is made mandatory, you have to only serve these people, then definitely all banks are going to simplify the procedures of the giving loan to these local people, because you have only option to land it. Okay, and government definitely is going to change some rules, so making it very simple. Like today under the Jandan Yojana, just on the basis of Aadhaar card you can open your account. Earlier it was not possible. So you understand, you can make it simple and also meet the local requirement, the normal individual's requirement, because resources are mobilized from the normal public, but it is funded to the industrialist. You understand these things. Okay, that is the reason national oriented banks and national banks should take care of the corporate sector, and local banks will take care of the local people in that particular area. ठीक है पार्था? Now come to this for external sector. First we are going to discuss about the foreign exchange rate. Foreign exchange rate. Like when you see newspaper, so you are getting $1 is equal to 82 rupees, sometimes more than 82 plus, sometimes a little bit low than this. Sometimes it was around 70 plus, okay, 60 plus, 70 plus, like this. So suddenly it comes in our mind, what are the reasons, how this price is determined? So first of all, you have to understand first what is the foreign exchange rate. So first you write this definition, foreign exchange rate, you please write. Okay, it is the price of foreign exchange rate, you write, it is the price of foreign currency. It is the price of foreign currency in terms of foreign exchange rate you are writing. And if you are not agree, then you can send me, you can discuss with me. Foreign exchange rate, we are discussing about this. What is foreign exchange rate? So you write foreign exchange rate is the price of foreign currency, is the price of foreign currency in terms of domestic currency. It is the price of foreign currency in terms of domestic currency. In terms of domestic currency. Okay. Why you're defining like this? So you understand what do you mean by the price? Price means normal concept. And don't say price means, okay, you just take this price normal concept is and sometimes you say that it's a price and means value of the product. Sir, no dear, there is a difference between the price and the value. In economics, we are taking both the things in very different way, and that is one of the reason the paradox is there between the water and diamond, because diamond has the higher price but low value. Water is the low price but very high value. You can't live without water. Okay, so you understand the value and the price concept is something different in economics, but in normal life we are using both in the same for same concept, but it's not true. So what is price? Generally we mean price means what you are paying to get something is known as the price, or what you're going to sacrifice to get something is known as the price. Like take one example, I want to buy this one, I want to buy this, so definitely I need to pay some price for that. So amount I'm going to pay for this product to get it, that price is known as that amount is known as the price. So simply we can say price is the sacrifice what you are going to do to get something. If you take in this way, then suppose $1 is equal to 82 rupees. Then how we define? We define like this, the foreign exchange rate is the price of foreign currency in terms of domestic currency. So if $1 is equal to 82 rupees, it means if I want to get $1, then I have to pay 82 rupees. So 82 rupees, it is in terms of domestic currency, and dollar it is in the foreign currency. So how we define? It is the price of foreign currency in terms of domestic currency. So dollar is foreign currency and rupee is the domestic currency. So we are paying that. It's a very universal in nature, this definition, dear, very universal in nature. where you are, that country is domestic country for you. Where you are, that country is domestic country for you. Okay, and all other country for you that time is the foreign country. So rupee, say in India, rupee is your domestic currency. Other than rupee, all your currencies for you is the foreign currency. So simply you can define in this way. Just check all of you. Clear? Okay, fine. Now, question is how you can decide how the exchange rate is determined, foreign exchange rate is determined. So basically, if you just if you see, then the foreign exchange rate is determined by three systems. So in each and every country of the world, you take any country of the world. So systems are three only. So one, you can say it is a fixed exchange rate system. Second one is known as flexible exchange rate system, and this flexible exchange rate system is also known as market exchange rate system, and it is also known as floating exchange rate system. It is also known as the floating exchange rate system. And third one is known as managed exchange rate system. Clear? So three systems are there. But if you see precisely, then you will get one thing. The third one is basically combination of these two. So third one is not the separate system. It is a combination of these two. So it is known as managed exchange rate system. That I will discuss you that time. I mean, I will after. I'm going to discuss all the three. Okay. So these three systems are there. So it depending on country to country, which system you are following. Clear? Fine. So question comes ki why a country needs a system to convert foreign currency into domestic currency and domestic currency into the foreign currency. Why do you need a system? So just think. I'm taking this our country, any country, you take India. Okay. One side exporter is here. We are taking exporters. Exporters are basically supplier of say dollar, foreign currency, say dollar, supplier of dollar, foreign currency. And on the other hand, you take importers. Importers are basically demander or buyers of dollar. They are demanding. So just to understand, if you take the example of India, dollar is not our domestic. Just you write first. Okay. Just you think here of this diagram, and now you think, suppose you are exporter. So you produced goods and services in domestic economy and you sold these goods and services in other countries. Okay, you produced in India but you sold in other countries. So for you and for the country, it is the exports. So basically, after exporting goods and services, you earned the foreign currency. Now, the moment you bringing the foreign currency in the country, you can't use this foreign currency directly to meet your need. Why? Because you understand, dollar, maybe euro, maybe pound, maybe any country, any currency of other countries are asset for me, but these are not the money. Because these are not the money, These are the assets. Money has uh, money has some unique features. Okay, some unique features or some characteristics you can say, like it can act as medium of exchange and it is acceptable by all individuals of the society. Okay, so in India, rupee is fulfilling all these criteria, not the dollar. People can refuse to accept, but rupee they can't. Okay, so any exporters who earned the dollar, so basically they are supplying the dollar in the country. So exporters are also known as supplier of foreign currency in the country. So they are bringing the dollar in the country, but dollar they can't use this directly. They can't use directly. So they have to convert dollar into rupee. They have to. Their problem is what? Their problem, they have the dollar, but they want to convert dollar into rupee. Clear in one side? Side you think about the importer. Importers basically they purchase the goods and services from the other nations. Okay. So after purchasing, they sold these products in the domestic economy. So basically in the domestic economy, they got it in terms of domestic currency. So they sold it and they have the domestic currency, but they need to pay abroad. So they need to pay abroad, but only in terms of foreign currency they need to pay to abroad in terms of foreign currency. So what the importer will do, importer want to buy dollar to pay abroad, to pay their dues in terms of dollar abroad. So just you think, importers has domestic currency, they are holding domestic currency, they want to convert domestic currency into foreign currency. Exporters, they are holding the foreign currency, they want to convert from dollar to domestic currency. So two different identity, and these two different identity having the entity, you can say, not identity, entity. So these two different entity is there, and through different entity having the different issue. One having the dollar, one has the dollar, they want to convert domestic currency, one having the domestic currency, they want to convert into dollar. So you need a system, you need a particular system, you need a system, you need a system. And this system will help to solve the issue. If anyone want to convert from dollar to rupee, they can easily convert. And anyone who wants to convert from rupee to dollar, they can easily convert. So need a system. And that is the reason the two system and plus one, three systems prevailing in the, there are three systems are there. So country can adopt any one of these. But generally third one is the combination of first two. Okay, and IMF is always warning, always saying that the country should not intervene. Okay, so we will one by one we will discuss. Now, first you understand, I'm not discussing here BOP first. Okay, I'm discussing here exchange rate. But I want to connect why three systems we need to know, because all these three systems are used in the Indian economy. So we should know about that things, okay, before going to discussing the all exchange rate system. BOP, I will already given you some information and I will give you some information more related to that. But in detail after this, we will discuss the BOP also. Clear? So just you think, as I discussed with you, BOP having two major account. One is your current account. Capital account. Okay. And capital account having two major account. One is BOT and second is known as invisibles account. BOT and second one is known as invisibles account. Clear? BOT and invisibles account. The current account has two sub accounts. See, if you see any account, maybe current account and maybe capital account, two things are happening. Remember, two things are happening. One is either you are receiving the foreign currency, okay, or you are paying the foreign currency, which is happening in current account also and which is happening in capital account also. Two things happening. You are receiving foreign currency in one hand and you are paying foreign currency in the other hand. Like if you are exporting the goods to abroad, then you are receiving the foreign currency. But if you are importing the goods from abroad, okay, then you are paying the foreign currency for import goods. So two different things are happening, two different transactions. One is the inflow of foreign currency and second is the outflow of foreign currency. Same is happening in current account, same is happening in the capital account. So each account is facing one problem. And what is the problem? The person who wants to pay in the foreign currency, basically they have the domestic currency and they want to convert from domestic currency into the foreign currency. Clear? Say, on the other hand, the person who has the foreign currency, say dollar, they want to convert into domestic currency in the rupee one. So two differences are there. One is they wants to convert from dollar to rupee and one is rupee from to dollar. So till your economic reforms, the conversion in the current account and also in the capital account was based on fixed exchange rate system. So was first system what we are talking about, fixed exchange rate system. So fixed exchange rate system was applicable even from the British government. Okay, British government, they implemented the fixed exchange rate system and the same system we continued till economic reforms. That is a fixed exchange rate system. And what is the fixed exchange rate system? I will tell you after this. First you understand yes, why need to know the system, fixed exchange rate system. Okay. But as I discussed with you, in 1991, we faced economic crisis and we approached to the IMF and IMF put it the condition that is a BOP, I mean the economic reforms, okay, overall economic reforms. So from 92, 91 onwards, we started implementing economic reforms in the country and also in the external sector. So first point you written that implementation of market exchange rate system. So we started shifting from fixed exchange rate system to market exchange rate system. Okay. So first time in 1992, we implemented market exchange rate system in 60:40 ratio, 60:40 ratio under the scheme which is known as LERMS. And LERMS means liberalized exchange rate management system. Yeah, liberalized exchange rate management system, LERMS. Okay, LERMS was introduced in 1992 and under this scheme LERMS, under 60:40, 60:40 in these proportions, the market exchange rate system was introduced. The market exchange rate system was introduced. Okay. Now, just think why? Because if you know, I mean, if you're knowing that FERA, FERA 1973 and FEMA 1999. So these two schemes these two schemes are there. Now, what are these schemes? You understand one point. FERA means Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. Clear? FERA was implemented by Government of India or enacted in 1973 but implemented in 1974. So FERA was made keeping in mind the requirement of the dollar, okay, in the Indian economy for growth and development. There was huge requirement and very limited supply of foreign currency was there. So FERA was made very strict, you know, FERA, that is the Foreign Exchange Regulation Act, it was, I mean, the FERA, under the FERA, provisions was so strict that if you failed to submit your foreign currency that you earned it in a time-bound manner, then if ED raided your premises, suppose ED raids your premises and you caught with this, I mean, they caught you in with foreign currency, so it was considered under the it was considered as a criminal offense. It was considered as the criminal offense, and punishment was imprisonment. So suppose you are your corporate sector, you are the owner of any company, you earn foreign currency, and time bound manner, if you fail to submit the foreign currency to the RBI, then if ED meanwhile raided your premises, they got it, then it is a criminal offense. Number one. Second point was that, okay, now if you are violating the FERA Act, then if you booked under FERA Act, then law was saying you already done the crime. Then already done the crime, and you are basically uh, you are not involved in that crime, or you are innocent, then it's a liability to you to prove that, and which is really very difficult, you know. Okay, third one was under FERA, only RBI was entitled to buy and sell the foreign currency. Suppose you earn any foreign currency. The moment you earn any foreign currency, okay, then you can only sell to RBI, not any other private parties. Okay, and suppose you want to pay your foreign currency, then you can only buy from the RBI. So who was allowed to buy and sell? Only RBI was allowed to buy and sell. Clear? Under FERA, and you can't hold it, basically foreign currency. Okay, if you earn it yourself, then you can hold it, but for the limited time period, then you have to surrender to the RBI. That was the very strict law. And sometimes FERA is also known as a draconian law. And what is FERA? I have just informed. So FERA was the act, and FERA was needed to regulate the foreign transactions. So any foreign transaction it was happening earlier, it was regulated under the FERA. But you are knowing that after economic reforms, our approach changed. That's in the planning already I discussed with you. So as our exchange, pattern of development has changed from socialist pattern to the capitalist pattern. So you allowed the private parties to come in all main economic activities of the country. And it is also the one of the main economic activities of the country, the external sector. So basically you also allowed the private parties to come in this market. Okay, there is a foreign exchange market I am talking about, in this market, and sell and purchase the foreign currency. Okay, that is allowed to private sector. But if you take FERA was the act. Okay, so if you take the FERA, then FERA was not allowing any private party to participate in market and buy and sell the foreign currency. No, it was totally prohibited to the private party. Any private parties, maybe bank, maybe your individuals, maybe any company. It was only authorized RBI. Okay, so very strict law was made under FERA. But as environment had changed and economic reforms was implemented, you allowed the private parties to come in the economy and participate it. So definitely you needed to change the FERA. But that time you was implementing this policy. So that time what you done is just to counterbalance the FERA, the government has implemented LUMS, liberalized exchange rate management system. LUMS they have implemented. Why I am telling you counterbalancing? Because private parties were not allowed to buy and sell, and you are allowing the private parties. How can you do that? Either you can just change the FERA, but changing FERA means you are going to change most of the policy. That it takes time. So government has just introduced LUMS, okay, liberalized exchange rate management system, okay, and through this, the government allowed the private parties to buy and sell the foreign currency. Through this, the government allowed private parties to buy and sell the foreign currency. Clear? Through lumps. Now, what is the criteria? Yes, they allowed, but 60% on the basis of market exchange rate system and 40% on the basis of fixed exchange rate system. That was the criteria 60:40. Clear? So, what is the meaning of 60:40? If you just one step you move, then you can see that. Suppose exporter, anyone you take this example, why you are, take the example, any exporters is here. An exporter suppose earn $100. So they have $100. So they want to change from dollar to rupee. So $60 means 60% dollar. They can convert in the market exchange system. Market exchange rate system. Under this system, they can exchange it. They can exchange it. Why? Because after economic reforms, already market exchange rate system was introduced. Okay, they already implemented in 1992. So 60% of your foreign currency you can convert from dollar to rupee under the market exchange rate system, and $40 you can convert from dollar to rupees under the fixed exchange rate system. Under fixed exchange rate system, just check. Under fixed exchange rate system, clear? Similarly, if you're talking about importers, you're talking about importers. So what are the importers? Basically responsibility here? I mean, not responsibility. Suppose importers need $100. Importers need $100. And why they need $100? To pay their import bills. So importers can, from market exchange rate system, or simply you can say from market, simply you can say from market. How much? So $60 they can buy from the market, and 40% or 60%, or you can just say $60 they can buy from the market, and $40 they can buy from the RBI, or better you can write from fixed exchange system, because I'm going to explain, so that time you will get it. Fixed exchange system. This is there. This is the concept of 60:40. Okay. So in 1992, to counterbalance the FERA 1973, the government of India introduced the LUMS, liberalized exchange rate system, and under LUMS they introduced the 60:40 ratio. Okay, 60% you can convert at the market exchange rate system in the market, and 40% you can convert in the under the fixed exchange rate system. Okay, this concept is there. Find here? Now come back. And in 1992, if you just take 1993, then all 100% transactions you allowed under the market exchange system. Okay, before going this, you also get it in current account. In current account, there are two sub accounts. BOT is the one account and invisibles in one account. So here till 93, we started in BOT. First in 92 and 93, all the transaction under BOT. Okay, we allowed to convert in the market exchange system. We allowed to convert in the market exchange system in 1993. All the transaction, not the 60:40, but 100% we allowed. Clear? And if you are talking about in 1994, then in 1994, all your invisibles account, okay, allowed the market exchange system. So in 90 and invisibles account when you allowed in 94, so all your current account now is based on, or conversion is based on market exchange rate system, based on market exchange rate system. Okay, clear. In 1994, that's all invisibles account transaction is also allowed through the market exchange system. So in 94, all your current account, including BOT and invisibles, we implemented the market exchange system. So what you're getting that in Indian economy, fixed exchange system and also the in the capital account is still the official exchange rate is we are using it. We are using the official exchange rate system. Okay, so that this is the it is one of the reason that we have to know the fixed exchange system plus market exchange system, and since these are the combination of these two is the fixed managed exchange system, so we have to know. So since it is implemented in Indian economy, so we have to know all the three. So first you write fixed exchange system. Okay, first you write fixed in the system. Okay, right. First I am dictating you, then we are going to discuss in that. Right. Fixed exchange system. Right. Under this system, first you just give the heading fixed exchange system, then you write under this system, foreign exchange rate is decided by the foreign exchange rate is decided by the competent authority is decided by the competent authority like RBI in India, full stop, just a full stop, right? It is the policy decision of the competent authority. It is the policy decision of the competent authority. It is the policy decision of the competent authority, full stop, right? It does not depend on market forces. It does not depend on market forces, that is demand for foreign currency, and supply of foreign currency, demand for foreign currency and supply of foreign currency. Okay, it does not depend on market forces, full stop, right? If demand for foreign currency is more than supply of foreign currency, if demand for foreign currency is more than supply of foreign currency, then RBI, see competent authority in India is RBI, then RBI, your written demand is more than the supply, na? Then RBI may not increase the price of foreign currency, okay, and may meet all excess demand, from their foreign exchange reserves, clear, full stop, right? On the other hand, on the other hand, if supply of foreign currency, on the other hand, if supply of foreign currency, on the other hand, if supply of foreign currency is more than demand for foreign currency, if supply of foreign currency is more than demand for foreign currency, then RBI may not decrease the price of foreign currency, may not decrease the price of foreign currency, may not decrease the price of foreign currency, and all excess amount of foreign currency, RBI may keep foreign currency, comma, RBI may keep, RBI will कर लो, RBI will keep as a reserves in their foreign exchange reserves, full stop. Just write, just read once, all of you, just read. Just read once and tell me, is it clear? Okay, few question you just told me now, send me. Just you, I requested already, dear. Let me complete the topic. See, we are not discussing BOP topic. We just given the reference about BOP so that you can connect it, how the implementation of exchange rate system, we implemented the different exchange rate system in the Indian economy. For that, the reference I have taken. Just give me some times. I am going to, after this, I will complete BOP, then I am going to go for any other topic. Okay, let me complete this two topic first. Okay, so, and anyhow, we have to complete most of the things in the last of, this, okay, turn. So you read once and tell me, is it clear to all of you? And you send me one questions. You are asking, sir, what do you mean by BOT account? And yeah, Biswajit, see, sir, what is this invisible account? Okay, just one line only, yeah, and no further question. Further question you will ask me in the BOP topic. I promise you, if let me discuss the particular topic, most of the answer you are getting it. Okay, if I am not discussing, then so many questions it will arise to you. So just you wait till that time. But since you asked Biswajit and Suvasis, so current account, when you are saying the BOT, balance of trade, or you can say visible account, or you can say merchandise account, you can the different names, but you say it's just right now BOT, balance of trade. So balance of trade only deals with exports of goods and imports of goods. So BOT only includes exports of goods and imports of goods, nothing more than this. Only one, export and imports of goods. But when you are saying invisibles account, it includes the exports of services, imports of services, plus income paid to abroad, income received from abroad, transfers paid to abroad, transfers received from abroad. So these are the part of invisibles account. And this invisibles account and the BOT combined, it is known as current account. That is the reason I am just saying you that current account has two sub account. One is BOT and one is the invisibles account. Biswajit, Suvasis is clear, and what we discussed about the fixed exchange system, it is also clear, or you have a problems or doubt? Tell me, all of you. What I dictated, what I discussed, is it clear to all of you, or still you have any problem? Now just see, under fixed exchange rate system, what I am dictated to you is, suppose here RBI is here, RBI is here, RBI fixed the price of foreign currency, say $1 is equal to 60 rupees. $1 is equal to 60 rupees. Okay, $1 equal to 60 rupees. And suppose an exporter is coming in it, exporter is bringing some dollar, say coming with the dollar, because he is the supplier. SS means supply. So and here the importers is there, and they want dollar. They are the basically demander of dollar. DD means demander. So if RBI fix the rate of exchange rate, say $1 is equal to 60 rupees, or you can say any amount you take for understanding. But this fixation of this exchange rate is not based on demand and supply. That's we are trying to write it. You have written that under this system, the competent authority is going to decide what should be the exchange rate. And this exchange rate is not depending on the demand and supply. Whatever demand and supply is there, okay, the competent authority may decide the exchange rate. And what is the basis of exchange rate decided by the competent authority is the need of economy. Okay, what is the need of the economy? Which exchange rate is suitable for the country? Okay, and which exchange rate suits the country? That is the basis. That is the known as the policy decision. So you read in one line, okay, fixed in the system. It is the policy decision of the competent authority. So as per the policy, as per the requirement of the country, you are going to decide it, not on the basis of demand and supply. And once you decide the exchange rate, then at this exchange rate, exporters, they can convert dollar to rupee. As much as dollar they can sell to RBI, they can get the Indian rupee. And importers, they are coming to the RBI at this exchange rate, they can buy any amount of foreign currency from RBI, and this rate they pay the foreign domestic currency. So this way it's worked, or it is working under the fixed in the system. So RBI competent authority can fix a particular exchange rate on the basis, it is the basis of policy decisions. The policy decision is the basis. Okay, they are deciding this should be the exchange rate which suits the country. Okay, and irrespective of demand and supply of foreign currency in the country, okay, they are going to decide and they are going to implement in this country. So their RBI is ready to buy if the fixed in the system is there. So RBI may sell any amount of foreign currency and they may buy any amount of foreign currency. ठीक है dear? Now, let us stop at this point, and we are meeting around 2 o'clock. Okay. Thank you everyone.